I always find that it comes back to Trojan horse sort of attack where it's not even technical. It's literally the user falling for a trap.
Yeah.
And the example they used here was quite apropos for today's conversation because they were invited onto a podcast.
Yep.
And they went on, and while they were communicating, their network was being, examined by whoever this person was. So that was intriguing.
And for the record, we're not examining your networks at all. We're not.
You don't know.
I'm not. Mitchell is.
Where'd you hide the camera?
Only the claw knows.
Huh? Dark!
On this episode of ResiWeek, we talk the state of the industry, cybersecurity compliance, and HARMAN plus Sound United. All this and more on this episode of ResiWeek. This is ResiWeek, episode 502, Positive on Purpose. Welcome to this episode of ResiWeek. This is your weekly roundup of all the latest news and stories for the residential AV industry. I'm your host, Matthew Scott for AVNation.tv, and this week, I'm pleased to be joined by two of my good friends. First, we have Kat Wheeler. She's an account executive at OneFirefly. How you doing, Kat?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, Matt.
Thank you for being here. Then we've got my good friend, Mr. Jeremy Glowacki. He's the editor-in-chief at Projector Central and a fellow fan of the New York Yankees. How are you, sir?
I'm good. It was a mixed bag on the weekend with my sports teams. Georgia Bulldogs did not step up against Alabama, unfortunately. But fortunately, I root against northern and southern teams, so the Yankees buoyed it. With the Colts losing in between the two
That's true.
Geographic regions.
Yeah. Your sports are more complicated than mine.
I know. I'm schizo.
All right. We are going to get into this. And before we do, I very rarely do this, but I can do it because she's here and I want to, and it's my show. Last week, we talked about Kat's article on crafting a pitch. If you haven't read it, go back and read it because it's stinking fantastic. And we were talking about it pre-show and it reminded me. So yeah, go do it. And then you can listen to me and a couple other guys talk about it. All right. This week, we are not talking about one of Kat's articles. We are talking about Nina's article from Residential Systems, the state of the industry. Integrators are optimistic. Go read through the article. It's based on a panel on a couple Thursdays ago at CEDIA Expo with some main big players in the industry, including Joe Freeman, the CEO of CEDIA, talking about how the start of the year was, I'll say, entertaining, but that everything is starting to look up a little bit. And essentially the panel as a whole decided that things are optimistic through the end of the year, looking into next year. Go read it. There's some great quotes in here. There is one quote in here that I have a question about, and we're going to start with Kat on this before we come to Jeremy. And it's from Patrick McCarthy, who is the executive director of Azion, saying your clients are going to start asking about AI, and we need to take a hard look at how AI is deployed in these products. Kat has done a lot of work with AI, has written a book about AI. Why are we bringing up AI in these conversations? Are customers caring about AI, and is that driving any sales decisions at all? Or is this a buzzword salad?
Probably a little bit of both.
Respectfully.
No, probably a little bit of both. I think it's a great point for Patrick to bring up because I don't think anyone has properly defined AI. Like, we use it as sort of a catch-all term. Like, is AI machine learning? Is it large language models? Is it, what is it and what does it do? And how we use it also is kind of a different version of AI, if you will. I mean, I don't believe that actual real AI exists yet, but I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. I'm not going to let my head explode. But as businesses using it internally, I mean, I think we're all doing that, to try to streamline efficiencies and, craft ways that as businesses we can be more profitable and efficient and smart. Mm-hmm. That's great. And using it in technology is kind of a different thing. Does your, lighting learn things from you? And does, Josh AI learn how you talk? And all of that fun stuff is great and wonderful and cool. And is it something customers will ask for? Probably, but they probably don't know what they're asking for. So I think it's up to us as an industry to kind of help them define what that means and what they're looking for before we, I don't know, go down that path.
I want people to focus on that thing you said where customers don't know what they're asking for.
They don't.
Because we've got a lot of customers in both residential and commercial. And yes, they're all talking about AI, and none of the AI they talk about has anything to do directly with any part of my integration business. It
No.
has to do with their Google devices and their Apple devices and that aspect. But it's got nothing to do with the entertainment or the lifestyle technology they're actually using.
And they might be asking for integration versus AI too. You know, like they want things to integrate because they just don't have a good understanding of what they're asking for. So yeah.
Or automation, you know.
Yeah.
That's
Everything
another...
to them is AI. Everything that we would deem integration or automation to a average homeowner has become AI.
I would contend that maybe what he was saying, and again, we're trying to figure out what it exactly meant here, because it's sort of a throwaway thing at the end of this article about broader topics of the industry and the economy and things, was that their thoughts on technology are limited. Typically, clients just don't know enough about technology. So what are they hearing in the media? What's the buzzword? And it's like, maybe it's been smart home and they're like, hey, tell me what makes my house smart. What's going to be smart about my house? Now it's like, hey, how is AI going to happen in my house?
Yeah.
And it's just maybe that thought, like, get ready for the nonsense because it doesn't make sense, but you need to be able to tamp that down, because either they're going to think that you can really make their home just do all the stuff without, you know, with them just saying, hey, turn on the lights, you know, all the things that, you know, make AI sound like the future. Or maybe they're afraid of it. Maybe they're like, oh, I don't want any of this AI stuff in my house. So be ready for that too. Maybe that's it. I don't know if that's what he's saying, but that's my theory.
Jeremy, let me ask you this. I read the article. Everyone's got really, you know, positive things to say about the market and the channel and the economy and how it's going to affect us as an industry. I have doubts about that.
Yeah.
Is this positivity on purpose because they're at, and again, I'm not trying to allude to anything nefarious, but is this positivity on purpose due to the questions asked and the location in which they're being answered?
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, that's my thought. I walked past these guys after their panel. I didn't get a chance to sit in and listen to them talk, but I know that you put on your best, you know, face or whatever for a conference, a convention. Now, if any of these individuals were talking to their own buying group, it would probably be a little bit more candid. I think that I've been to enough HTSAs and ASEAN meetings that they, especially John Robbins at HTSA, I feel like he's brutally honest. Like, hey, like there's some trouble ahead here. Be ready. Because these are folks that he's wanting to do well. He doesn't want them to be, you know, just all kind of like, I'm trying to think of what the metaphor is. The
Pollyanna?
That's it. Not like overly confident when things need to be, you know, prepared for. And I think that, obviously, the comment was made, it's been a roller coaster, and we talk about the trouble on the commercial side. So there's some negatives here for sure that they're mentioning with the tariffs and delayed timing of projects and things like that. So it's not all, you know, happiness and optimism, but I do think they're trying to probably put a positive spin on it. You're at CEDIA Expo, trying to make it seem like, hey, there's opportunity out there. And I get it. I mean, we do that. We try to look for the bright side and aim for the positive, but I'm sure there's a little bit of glossing over the reality of the true challenges out there.
There was also a caveat in that of if interest rates come down, life will, essentially alluding to life will get better, which I don't disagree with. All right, let's change topics for a second. This comes to us from CE Pro. Smart homes need more integrators willing to offer cybersecurity compliance services. Go read through this article. You will have a blast. It is very in-depth, talking about essentially the cybersecurity concerns in all of the devices that we essentially sell and install. Jeremy, let me start with you on this. Well, I want to continue to have this conversation. I continually put an asterisk on this conversation of your legal protection is the most important thing you're going to do. If you ever use the word cybersecurity with your customers, because they are not going to complain to Apple, Google, HARMAN, whoever it is, about a data breach. They're going to come after their friendly neighborhood AV person. Where do we draw the line in providing information but protecting ourselves as an industry when it comes to cybersecurity?
Yeah, I hear you. That is a scary proposition, especially when we're dealing with the really high net worth client, the corporate executives, even the celebrity types. If something were to go wrong, and who are they going to point the finger at? And guess who has deeper pockets? In that case, it's not going to be the integrator. So that legal documentation, I think you're right that's where it is. Maybe turning your attention to someone who really does have the cybersecurity, capabilities, and having them be the one that takes that on, from a liability standpoint, from a technical standpoint, basically outsourcing that role if that exists in your area. I'm guessing that's not a typical role in every market that's out there. Yeah. It's not like hiring the HVAC professional to do the integration with the thermostat and the smart home system, which we do, or the electrician to come in and do the electrical for the lighting control and that sort of thing. This is a whole other level. I think it is a definite challenge. I don't have the answer. I've not dug deeply enough into this category to know who exists out there and how you would outsource that. I did find it, the anecdote in here was really interesting. I always find that it comes back to the Trojan horse sort of attack, or the phishing attack, where it's not even technical. It's literally the user falling for a trap. Yeah. And the example they used here was quite apropos for today's conversation, because they're invited onto a podcast. Yep. And they accepted. They did a little bit of homework and saw that there was an actual podcast. There were social media links and everything. And they went on, and while they were communicating through this link that was provided to them, their house was being, their network was being, examined by whoever this person was. So that was intriguing, and a new twist on being baited, because you would assume most professionals, most people are not going to fall for the old tricks, but that was a new trick that I could see myself falling for, and it's pretty scary.
That's a great point. Kat, and for the record, we're not examining your networks at all.
Liar. You don't know.
I'm not. Mitchell is, but I am.
I don't even know this Mitchell guy.
Who's Mitchell? Kat, there's some talk in this article about the new federal regulations with the U.S. Cyber Trust Mark. I'm sure that there's a world where integrators could only offer products that fall under that, right? That have been tested, they're following best practices, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. At the end of the day, to Jeremy's example that he just talked about from the article, you can do all those best practices, and when somebody clicks the wrong link or opens the wrong text message, all of a sudden, all that hard work can be for naught. And again, I hate continually coming back to the protect yourself side, but how do you articulate to the client, not to scare them, but just so that they understand that you've done what you can and now it's on them?
Get a lawyer. No. I've said it before. I've said it again. I've written books about it, but I don't understand why we're not all in a heist gang. I would love it if we all put together a little AV heist gang and like, showed people how easy it is to, get into their homes with the stuff that they put in there. And most people have a very removed sense of understanding on how things work and how they connect together and how those all connect with their office equipment that they're bringing home and, all of those things that it's so complex. You cannot expect an end user to understand it. We don't even understand it as well as we could or should. And this is what we do for a living. So to your point, yes, Jeremy, partnering with people who do this and that's what they do is going to be probably the correct answer. And Matt, you're not wrong either. Liability. Are there levels to this? Sort of like, dealers create tiered service plans. Are there levels to what they're protecting and how they're protecting it? And just being very clear about the equipment that is being protected and that we're not, preventing phishing scams or we're not preventing, liability for your personal things. Like it is this equipment and this equipment only that we are, installing and using best practices with, and we are protecting this. But if you hook other things up to it, all bets are off. Like there's so much vagueness and nuance and room for error because we're talking about, again, high net worth people that have all kinds of new gadgets and all kinds of new tricksy things that each one comes with their own special way of letting somebody have access to all of your things. So I do also, and this is a little bit removed from my we should have a heist gang comment, but I do think it is a wonderful direction for us as an industry to move into as we move towards the future. I think there's a lot of revenue that is available here, recurring revenue too, which is something a lot of our dealers want to get involved in. And I think there is a path over the next, decade of us moving into that as part of our industry, and how we navigate that, how we talk about it, how we educate about it, I think is going to be really important moving forward. But I 100% think there's a place for it. I just don't think you can be blasé about it like you can about a pair of speakers.
I agree with what you're saying, but until the residential industry has some players in it that are akin to the commercial industry when it comes to cybersecurity, with a price point that you're not even your average homeowner, but your top 20% of integrator clients are comfortable with, we're never going to see this, because there's not, and some of the companies that are doing some of this monitoring is listed here. I've compared to what I know and have seen on the commercial side, it's interesting. And that's where I'm going to leave that, because otherwise that's when I get people very upset with me.
But we can still get a heist gang together.
No, we totally can.
Yes.
My concern is that we've worked with companies that do bit by bit analysis over a network, and it is phenomenal. And the cost is outrageous, especially if you've got a homeowner who's either on Zoom all day or got a kid who's gaming, because they've got to do that analysis to verify. Like you
pay for what you get, Matt.
You totally do. I just think it's out of reach for most integrators today. And there needs to be, we need to figure out how to get there, because until then, like, my company's got out of it. We will not take the liability. We'll sell it, we'll install it, and the second we walk out the door, we're done. Because that liability is just ridiculous. All right, let's change topics one last time. This comes to us from a residential tech today, Mr. Rob Stout. HARMAN finalizes their Sound United acquisition. About 4 months ago, the deal was reached between Samsung's HARMAN International division and Massimo to move the Sound United portfolio under HARMAN. That includes Bauer and Wilkins, Denon, Marantz, DefTech, Polk, Hios, Class A, Boston Acoustics, etc., under their brand. As of right now, it looks like They are going to allow the Sound United brands to operate as a strategic business unit within the Harman Lifestyle division. So that structure and the teams there will remain untouched for a while. That for a while I added. Kat, when you see this, when you follow this, on one hand, I love this. On the other hand, I look at it and go, there's going to come a point where they realize we have 5 or 6 audio receiver manufacturers under our umbrella. That's a lot of duplication across the board everywhere. What does that look like long term?
I don't know. And that's what freaks me out. Because the thing I love about our industry more than anything else is innovation. That, you know, the reason I've stayed here 20 years is because there's such a distinct, especially in the audio category, and a lot of these heritage brands that are now all rolled together under one umbrella. I find it very interesting to see how we're going to move forward. And if they can maintain, you know, the difference in innovation, because while you may think everybody's building a speaker, they're not all building the same speaker. They're building different kinds of speakers that focus on different kinds of audio and different kinds of quality and different ways to transmit it and hear it and for different kinds of music. And I think that's the best thing in the world. And so maintaining these independent brand identities and even those brand stories, which are recognizable to an end user. Bowers & Wilkins especially has such a huge following, you know, as a brand. And I think that's wonderful. And so I would hate to see us lose all of those things that make us special and unique and engaging to those end customers.
Yeah, that's a great point. Jeremy, is consolidation is that going to be the end result here? Or is Samsung of the size and scope to where they can kind of let these guys run on their own and just let it play out?
I was dubious of Samsung owning Harman's, luxury audio brands, and they've owned them for quite a while. And as far as I can tell, they've left them pretty well alone. Their basic hand on it is a bit of badging on a booth at at CEDIA. You don't really see the influence of them as a large conglomerate. And so I'm hopeful that that's what's going to happen here. Now, the Sound United, Massimo, back to Sound United, they've been through a lot with private equity and ownership and things over the years. The addition of Bowers and Wilkins is relatively new. They were brought in, and that seemed like a strange fit as well within that group. And I think they've maintained obviously their unique qualities and quality. But I do think what Kat's saying is true, where just the way that they're presented at a trade show alone, when you bring all of these together, they weren't together at CEDIA. The deal hadn't closed. So Massimo's / Sound United was sort of offsite at CEDIA. I didn't get a chance to see them because I was there to see projectors and screens and things, but there is a lot more of a overlap there just within their own brands that they bring. Then you add that into Harman. I believe like when you talk to Harman, they really have an identity for each of their brands, even if they do similar things. There are, voicing kind of concepts that they're trying to maintain, or price point. And there's a little bit, I guess, of that as well on the Sound United side. But it's a tough one when you present them all in one big package at a trade show, and just the attention of you're going to visit this booth and everybody gets a little tiny bit of your attention, versus if they're more of an independent brand in their early days and you're just focused in on that one story and message as a buyer / integrator, reseller, installer. I just think the message could potentially get diluted. It's a tough one. I feel like for what it's worth, trade shows being what they are, I know they still have a reason to exist. They're less important than they used to be, but you go and it's just big booth, a lot of little brands, big booth, lots of little brands. There's just that one, big, that kind of independent company vibe is gone. It's kind of, it's hard to see who's doing what anymore. And it does get a little bit, like Kat said, homogenized, and you kind of worry about that.
Yeah. I we'll wrap it here, but the only saving grace I will say is that there was a lot of concern when HARMAN consolidated in Pro AV, and they brought a bunch of brands together and then were subsequently bought by Samsung. And for the most part, those have run fairly independently and kind of just been left alone to do their own thing within that brand. And then Samsung, takes advantage of some of those products in their products as they can. But they've kind of let most of those things just kind of keep chugging along, which is a positive side. Yes, Kat.
I raised my hand. I think there's something interesting that kind of correlates through all of the topics that you selected for us to chat about today. And that's innovation. Because when we're looking, if we want to be positive about the industry going forward, how are we positive? It's because we continue to innovate the way we have, and that's what's kept us going all of these years. If we're looking at cybersecurity and moving towards the future, it's innovation. How can the manufacturers, how can the dealers all work together to put us in a better position in, that way, so we can grow that part of our businesses moving forward? And then we talk about, leveraging mergers and acquisitions and how our industry is changing as we move forward because more people are interested in it. The answer is innovation. So I think that's the thread that's going to hold us all together as we move forward, and it's something we should be conscious and thinking about when we talk about everything.
Well, and to just pull that thread a touch, and then we'll go. Imagine if HEOS gets a massive influx of R&D and capital, and then gets bundled into every Samsung product, and all of a sudden HEOS has, dare I say, the power to take over Sonos's market share, or at least be a very valid competitor.
And when there's competition, there's innovation, because they want, when there just is only one player, there's not a lot of need for innovation. So I would love to see stuff like that happen.
And I think that's the one thing that always gets overlooked with consolidation is if they can leverage it and take some of the good out of it and spread that wealth around a little bit, that there's a lot of opportunity there. All right, we are going to leave it there on that super positive spin, which for me is very impressive. Jeremy, if people want to connect with you, learn more about Projector Central, catch your podcast, where can they do that?
Yeah, go to projectorcentral.com. Everything's there. We started a sister site called LED Wall Central as well. It's getting started with a lot of educational articles there for folks who are, trying to make a go of that, especially, I know on the commercial side, it's very well established, but in the residential side, still kind of getting started, and a lot of good content there, but podcasts as well. We're talking to our reviewers when they review cool products, and just people learn about things in different ways. Some people don't want to read a 4,000 word review. They just want to listen to the reviewer talk about it in a more concise way. So we're just offering content in different ways, but find me personally on LinkedIn. That's probably your best place to find me.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Kat, if people want to connect with you, learn more about OneFirefly, where can they do that?
Well, you can find me on LinkedIn, but I'm katwheeler.com. So it's very easy to find me, and OneFirefly.com for all of your AV marketing needs and such, and your hiring, because we're doing that now too. So
can they get your book? Can they get a link to your book off your website?
Of course you can. There's tons of links to my book off my website, and videos and content and merch and all sorts of fun things.
Fantastic. All right. We are going to leave it there. Thank you again for joining us. If you'd like to connect with me, you can find me at Matt D. Scott on most of the socials. But more importantly, please visit AVNation.tv, where you'll find this show as well as a wide variety of other shows with all the verticals that we cover. When you visit the website, please take a moment to check out our supporters. We are extremely thankful for their support and ask that you check them out as well. Thanks again for watching. That's all the time we have for this episode of ResiWeek,
the network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.